Hey, welcome to Gen Next Door Podcast. I'm Jennifer, and I interview local business owners, entrepreneurs, and creatives. On this podcast, we talk about their business journey and how they are making a difference every day. You'll be inspired and motivated to take action with your business endeavors and connect with the community. Thanks for listening. So let's do this. Hi, welcome to another episode of Gen Next Door Podcast. My guests today are Emily Golden and Rachel May, co-founders of Golden May Book Coaching. They help fiction writers level up their stories and grow their skills. Thank you for setting up some time with me, and I really appreciate it. I invited you too because I think you guys have a very interesting business, and I feel like whoever is listening, and myself included, can learn something new. So welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for having us.
Yeah, it's so nice to be here.
So to get started, can we summarize what Golden May Book Coaching is?
So our business, Golden May, is really focused on teaching writers how to write the books of their dreams. So we do that by focusing on their writing mindset, making sure that they are able to approach the page with a healthy mindset. They don't let their inner critic voices undermine them or damage their relationship with writing. We also make sure that they are fully wrapped up into our writing community so that they can lean on each other and have support from other writers around them. And then we work with them one-on-one in building their writing skills. So, we take them through what most people probably would imagine like coaching would be. Like, we're going to teach them how to write a book, like story structure, character development, writing craft.
Ooh, that's exciting.
So we provide that in two different services. We have our one-on-one coaching, which is just what you would imagine. We each have our own clients. We meet with them every week as they are building their book from the ground up. And then we also have a program called Tenacious Writing, where we support writers in a community setting. So we have lots of, like evergreen content on craft and mindset. We do workshops. We have a Slack. And so we work with folks in that capacity as well.
That's awesome. Let's talk a little bit about you guys, how you guys got started and where you grew up and why, and has writing always been something you've been interested in and part of your life? We can start off with Emily.
Okay, sure. Yeah, so I grew up in Maine, and I've always loved books. When I was really little, I was trying to make picture books, and I always have this story of when I was in first grade, I think, first or second grade, my teacher encouraged me to enter into this contest where kids could write stories and they had different awards. And I ended up writing basically Little House on the Prairie fan fiction, and I'm pretty sure it was disqualified for plagiarism, but I don't think she told me. So obviously I didn't win, but I've always just really been into writing when I was really little. And then I sort of dropped it for a lot of, I did a lot of theater in high school, and then in college I got into entrepreneurship. And so I didn't get back into writing until my mid-20s, right before I met Rachel.
Okay.
And we started writing together.
Yeah. So I read that you we're coaching business entrepreneurs, community activists, election candidates. Like, what is that about?
Yeah, a very different setting, but a lot of similar work, actually. I used to, my previous life before Golden May, I worked with environmental nonprofits, and I got I started in oil and gas work, and then I got sucked into what's called rural electric cooperative work.
I feel like we need to back up a little bit. Like, how did you get into that?
Into environmental science?
Yeah.
Just through.
Or did you go to college?
School. I did. I went to college for environmental science. Okay. So that's sort of how I got there. But I think I went through that that stage in high school of like, what will be a lucrative career that I'm also going to like. And so for some reason, I thought the nonprofit world was going to do that for me. But I was like, hey, it's, it could be somewhat stable and it's doing good work. And so I got really into that. And then I went to school for environmental science. And then I got a job at a nonprofit in Colorado, which is where I live now. And that was how I got looped into oil and gas, fighting oil and gas leases out in the West. And that if we want to go into it,
Yeah, let's go
basically after the 2016 election, it became really difficult to fight oil and gas leases because a lot of what we had been working on under the Obama administration sort of cut off at the throat.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so that's how I got into rural electric cooperatives, because essentially out in the West, this is not a common thing in like in the Eastern US. And I don't know if it's a thing outside of the US, but in the Western part of the US, there's this idea where you buy into your electricity. And it was how they got electricity out here, like however many years
Mm-hmm.
ago when they first installed it, is people pitched in. So basically, everyone in a community who wanted to use the electricity bought into it. And so it's still that structure. And so these cooperatives are basically election run. And so you elect representatives from your community like you would a school board to run your electricity for you. It's this like weird. Yeah. So it was this opportunity to work in these local communities to help like get more solar, renewable energy, forward thinking folks on these boards in these really rural areas. So it was a really cool project. And I basically supported candidates and helped them write their messaging and like coach them on like how to talk about what they were, what they stood for. And so it was a lot of the same kind of one-on-one people stuff that we do in Golden May. But it was just with a very different focus. And so I worked with like 40 different candidates across the United States in a few years that I was working on that. And then I left that work because starting businesses is difficult, kind of overlapped that work with starting Golden May until finally becoming full-time.
Yeah. So that was like
2 years ago.
2 years ago?
Yeah.
Yeah, 2 years ago.
So that was like your first experience with like one-on-one coaching, and you enjoyed it.
Yeah.
And you're like,
yeah,
I mean,
it's a lot. It's very different. It's very different when you are volunteering to support folks versus folks are paying you to support them.
Yeah.
And so it's a very different kind of structure, but I did really enjoy it. And very different types of people as well. But I liked the work of one-on-one working with folks and helping. I really liked the messaging work of like, how do you convey to people the importance of something? And the importance of participating in something and what it means to them. And
Rachel, now it's your turn.
Yeah. Very different.
Yeah. So you went into tech and the startup world. So let's talk about that.
Yeah. So I was not like a huge childhood reader until about middle school when I got into fantasy. And ever since then, I had been like obsessed with stories. And so I went to ASU. And I studied English literature there, and I got a writing certificate on the side. And I minored in a language, but I've always been like very interested in communication and English and writing. And that's what I wanted to be. I actually wanted to be an editor at a publishing house, but I really loved Phoenix. And so I wanted to stay in Phoenix. And I ended up finding a startup company in Phoenix. And Jennifer, that's where you are, right?
I was, yeah.
You are. Okay. So did you know Tuft & Needle, the startup, the mattress company that was founded in Phoenix? Have you seen like the billboards and stuff?
It sounds familiar. Yeah.
So that's the startup company that I worked at for a really long time. And I was hired as like one of the first employees. I was the third employee. And so when I got there, I mean, a baby company.
That is so new.
Yeah.
Isn't that kind of scary though?
Yes, it was. I mean, I worked for Apple at the time. And this job just kind of like landed in my lap. And
from Apple to like a startup?
Yeah.
How's that transition for you?
It was really interesting. But I was completely bought into the brand, to the company. Like one of the things that really drew me to it was the return policy. Like it's a mattress company. So when you buy mattresses like online from the internet, and this was in like 2014, 2013, like that was a big thing. That was a big deal. And then what if you don't like it? Where do you go? And so their return policy was to donate it and they would give you your money back. And that was what made me want to work there, because it felt so human. It felt so like real. And I mean, logistically, that's an easy solve to that problem, but it felt less like the company was trying to make money and more like they were just trying to help people out.
Yeah.
So yeah, and at Apple at the time, I mean, I love Apple, love them to death. I worked for Apple for a while, but I was starting to feel like kind of the cog in the machine. Like when you work for one of the biggest companies in the world, you feel like a very small piece of it. And so I kind of wanted like, let's have a challenge, let's take a risk, let's try something like really brand new and see what happens. So I joined it for customer service actually, but they had no training. I mean, it was a brand new company. There was no training programs.
There's like no process. It's
no
you're doing it all.
Yeah. So I asked my boss like a week into my job if I could create a training program because we were going to start hiring more people and I wanted them to have some sort of way to learn how to do their job. And he said yes. So from there on out, I had like taken over training, like my job at the company.
I did that too.
So I trained like every single person at the company pretty much up until I left, like to come to Golden May full time, which was 7 years later. So I made all of our training programs. I made our feedback training, which has been looped into a huge piece of Golden May now, which we can talk about. But yeah, it was a super fun experience to see us grow. The company became, hundreds of millions of dollars of a company. They were purchased and merged with Circe Simmons Bedding. Like it became this huge thing. So the risk really paid off. But then I really was into writing, like still on the side, I'm writing my stories. I'm trying to learn about craft. And then I met Emily on Twitter and that's how we met. And we became critique partners. So we just were writer friends at first. And then I don't know, 6 to 9 months into our friendship. Was that about right?
I
think we were just talking and we were like, she's initiated the conversation, but was like, do you want to start a business? I was like, yeah, let's do it. We were just learning everything that we could learn about writing craft and about our stories. And both of us have that really huge love of working with people one-on-one and of teaching them. That was a huge part of my job was learning and development. So it just seemed like such a great fit to be able to do that for both of our passions, which was books.
Wow.
We did both for a time. Yeah.
When you enter college, you have this kind of idea of what you want to do. And then now it's like full 180, like it's going into something that you've never thought that you would go into with people like that you just met online.
I know.
Yeah, it's really funny. I live in Durango, Colorado, which is where I got my really my first salaried nonprofit position when we moved out here. And so everyone here knows me as like, right, because it's a community organization. So you connect with like so many people in a small town and everybody knows me as like the environmental person. Right. And then we moved away and for 2 years. And while we were gone, we started Golden May. And when I moved back is right about when I quit my other job, which was online. It just was like such a weird thing because people are like, wait, books? Like you write? Like now you help writers? Like, wait, how did this happen? So yeah, it does, but it felt so natural to me. Like I think that oftentimes when you go to college, there's so many external factors that are influencing like what it is that you think you want to do and what it is that you think you care about. And then I know that that's what happened to me. And I enjoyed my nonprofit work, but it just wasn't the lifestyle that I wanted and that suited me.
So how did you guys get started talking on Twitter? Like, how did that conversation go?
It was just like a Twitter post of like, hey, I need someone to be my critique partner, to read my work. And one of us DM'd each other. Like we commented
we were in a thread. It was
we were in a thread
back in those days. I don't know really anything like, that's what happening in Twitter right now. But this is Twitter pre-pandemic Twitter.
This was like 2018.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that was a great year for writer Twitter, I will say. It was a great year for it. And so people were just connecting and talking about their books and all this stuff on Twitter. We were both at a place where we wanted to connect with other writers and get feedback on our work. And someone had posted something like, hey, if you want critique partners, like post in the, like comment on this post. And so we both commented and I think we were scrolling through everybody who was looking for stuff and we were like, fantasy. Okay.
Yeah.
But then now, like when you said, hey, you want to start a business together and then the other person said, yeah, sure.
That's pretty much how it went. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we had become
Were you like
really
a little
good
bit
friends.
hesitant or
Yes and no. I think that we both, from the time that we started DMing each other, it really felt like we were very fast friends. So we immediately got along. We were meeting like regularly on Zoom to discuss our works. We were sharing feedback. We were sharing our stories, but we also like together had dove headfirst into learning about writing. And that was where I think we really connected. And we started to think like, I wanted to be an editor, and Emily's like, that was one of her passions. And so we both were like, what if we could do this? Like, is it possible if we could be editors? Now that we're learning so much about this, could we take a training? Could we learn? Could we do this professionally? Because we were loving it so much. Yeah. And so she had mentioned offhand, like, should we start a business? And I was like, yeah, that would be cool. Why don't we look into it? And then like a couple of months later, we were taking a training class to become book coaches. And then we were filing like LLC paperwork. And then we had a business.
God.
Yeah.
So
we kind of joked about it a little bit. And then I hit a wall with my work environment where it was like one of those, I got to get out of this places. And so that's when the conversation became more, really? Do you want to try it? You want to do it? And yeah, we kept our jobs for a while, like a while.
So what did the first couple of weeks look like? What was the process? Like after you did the training, then what? How did you find your first client?
That's a good question.
We do almost 100% of our marketing on social media and primarily Instagram. So we found our first clients through Instagram.
And Pinterest.
And Pinterest.
We had a huge Pinterest
we had a pretty big following on Pinterest.
Yeah, pretty big Pinterest engagement. I don't know.
Yeah.
what are the Pinterest
people
words?
clicking on our things? Yeah.
I think we both, since we're so passionate about teaching, I think we both were really excited about the prospect of learning through teaching. While we were taking the training, we got our website up because it was a 6-month training. And so we kind of did it simultaneously with getting the pieces of the business off the ground. So we had a website and we started writing blog posts. And the blog posts were a really great way for us to learn while we were also putting marketing materials out there. And then, that's a great Pinterest fodder. And so we got a lot of interest, a lot of our email list building and all of that was coming from Pinterest at that time. And then I think they changed their algorithm or something. And then we just decided we liked Instagram better. So we made like a big shift maybe a year later to Instagram and like really started focusing on how to best market through that. But that's kind of how we got started, was just pumping content out there.
Yeah.
A little obsessively.
A lot of free content. Like it would just, I mean, we believe that everything we put out should have tons of value. And that belief has definitely developed and morphed as we've become more confident in ourselves as business owners. But even at the beginning, like we wanted to help people. That's why we started our business, was to help people write better books. And so we tried to create as much content as we could to help them do that. And that brought a lot of people to us that trusted us and that wanted to work with us.
Yeah, Pinterest sounds like a good idea because I've been doing my own research because I want to start a blog, or I've been doing a blog, and everyone's saying like do Pinterest. They'll get more followers through there because a lot of people want to read on Pinterest. That was a good way to go for you guys.
Yeah,
it worked. Trust building exercise. I feel like we were really focused on learning as much as we could and teaching as much as we could, but in a way where we were building trust with our followers, because hiring a one-on-one coach is a really big step. It's a really big service. We kind of had to, I don't want to say prove ourselves, because it's like, but I don't know if there's a better phrase for it, where we wanted to bring people in and win their trust. And so we produced a lot of free content to do that. And
we still do that.
It was a lot of work.
It's not like we stopped.
A lot of work.
Yeah.
But I think it was really effective because it's hard. Book coaching is kind of a weird new thing, and was even newer at the time that we were starting it. And people didn't know about it, didn't know what it was. And it's one of those things where it's like, what are your, how do you get credentials to be a good book coach? And so the best way to show people that we could, support them was through supporting them via free content.
That makes sense. When did you guys transition full-time to do the coaching? Like, why did you decide to do that leap at that time?
I was starting a family. And my company had fantastic maternity leave. So I knew that I wanted to remain with that benefit through my pregnancy and through postpartum. So that was one reason that I chose to kind of wait to take a full leap. But then afterwards, I was feeling really confident in the business. We were making enough money to support ourselves, and it felt like the right time. I had used my family leave benefit. I had gotten that. And so insurance wise, like, you have to think about insurance in the United States. Like, that's a big deal. So like, we had really great insurance, but then once I had the baby and everything was fine, and, she was growing, and we were making enough money to support ourselves, that's when I decided to make the leap. So it just felt like the right time. And that was April of 2021 for me. So it's coming up almost 2 years. Yeah.
When you said 2021, I literally thought like yesterday.
I know. What is time?
What is time?
Yeah. My situation was a little bit different because I was at the time on my election work, I was a contract employee, which was both great and not great because it allowed me a lot of flexibility. I was able to be like, okay, I'm going to go down to 2/3 time, and then I'm going to go down to half time. And I was able to kind of ease myself out of it. But a lot of the elections that I was working on were all spring elections. And so there was like a really busy time of year from like January to like June of pre-election, during election, and post-election work. And I was the sole employee at my company, or not company, but at the project at that point in time, the sole contractor working on it. So we had to hire someone, and then he kept wanting support, and it was, I kept wanting the money, and it was like this thing of like going back and forth forever. I actually just got an email that apparently I have a tax form from them from this year. And I was like, wait, did I do work this year? I don't remember.
No.
So it was a lot. I kept kind of going back and forth. And so for me, it kind of reached this point where I was like, I can't split myself this way because I can't lead two things at the same time. It was just too much.
Yeah, I was going to say, like,
reached a point of basically burnout where I was like, okay, this is what I need to be focused on. This is what I care about. And it just happened to be about the same time that Rachel was ready to take that leap as well. And so within 2 months of each other, we were totally.
Wow, that's actually like not that much time from when you guys like decided to say, yeah, let's start this and leave and then do it full time. Usually people like take a little bit longer, but you guys had confidence in yourselves to get it done.
We did. Yeah. I mean, we're very, there's a reason why we call our program Tenacious Writing and why we use that word tenacious so often. And that's because we are tenacious people, and we get things done. So that it was definitely like, this is a dream. Why don't we do it? Let's do it. Let's take the risk. And if it doesn't work out, then we move on to something else. But I think neither of us thought it wouldn't work out. Like, we both knew that this is something really special. And our business was growing enough where it felt really good. It didn't feel like a huge risk on the inside. Mm-hmm. I think a lot of people said that to me of like, oh, you're going to leave your amazing job and go do this. Like, what a big risk. And I was like, it doesn't feel like that. Like, it feels like this is what I'm meant to do.
Because they also don't see like the hard work that you guys put in. And
yeah.
So did you guys ever have like imposter syndrome though? Because like I would, knowing that you have like all this knowledge, but it could also be overwhelming, and maybe you don't see yourselves as like good enough coaches in the beginning. Like, oh, why should anyone listen to me?
Yes,
absolutely. Yeah.
Period.
I feel like we were new. Mm-hmm. That's the thing, right? Like, people go to school for jobs for 4 years that they then start, right?
Yeah.
And I think we leapt in and we gave ourselves those couple of years of overlap to learn and work with clients and grow. And I think that that's a good thing. And I think that doesn't mean that what you're providing your clients is not, worthy or useful, or, we provided so much value to our clients, and we just continue to provide more and more value. It was probably a few months after we went full time, we kind of reached this point where we were like, money's not growing. And, what are we doing? And so we started to invest in ourselves. And I think that was I would say that's the best thing we've ever done. We hired a business coach. She's technically called a money coach. And it was amazing. Our business like doubled
Oh,
in
wow.
the next, the 4 months that we were working with her. And so, yeah. And so when we hit that wall, instead of being like, oh, we're not meant to do this, we were like, no, we are, we're going to choose to believe in ourselves and invest in what we need to reach that next level.
And how did you find her?
Actually,
There's like so many coaches out there. And I kind of feel hesitant. I'm like, who should I go to?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's really hard to choose. But we had a personal connection with her through one of my clients, actually. One of my coaching clients worked with her. And so I had told that client, like kind of offhand, that we were looking to invest in ourselves and kind of wanting to grow the business. And she was like, I have the perfect person for you. You should talk to her. And we did. And it like was an instant, like, oh, this is going to be so hard, but we really need it. Like we should do it. And it was scary, but we did. We jumped right in. And I mean, you asked about imposter syndrome, and we absolutely felt imposter syndrome, but working with her brought like skyrocketed our confidence, and we grew really hard. So I think we still experience imposter syndrome every now and then, because how could you not if you're a human being that is like a little bit self-aware and not a bad person? I don't know. Not like a jerk.
Who like wants to grow. I think it's like one of those things that comes from wanting to grow, and you can see like yourself, this another version of you that knows even more. And you're like, oh, but I'm not that person. But like, I think what she really helped us do was see all of the value we could provide in that moment.
That's exactly what, like, she forced us to confront how awesome we are. Yeah. That sounds like a little strange to say, but she really did. I mean, and that's what every great coach, I think, does is make their clients believe in themselves. And once we had that belief, it was just so much easier to make the money we dreamed about, to be the coaches that we dream about, to create the content that we dream about, because we believe in ourselves. And a lot of that came from the way that she pushed us to find that belief.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
I kind of want one now.
I know. If you need a recommendation, we have one.
Yeah.
So what is the difference between a creative freelance job, or what you guys do, and a 9-to-5 job? Like, what should people know about it and decide to take that leap to? Or know like the difficulties that are going to happen and be like, okay, just be aware that this is going to happen.
I think that a really important piece of what we do, or important thing to know, is that when you're in charge of yourself, you have to do things yourself. So what I mean by that is, like, we come up with our own ideas and we have to execute them, and we rely on ourselves, and we don't have the team, like a huge company team, to support us. And so if we want to do something, we're the ones that have to do it. Mm-hmm. And at first that was really scary and daunting, because it was like, my job was structured, and like I had a lot of freedom. It was a fantastic job, but it also was, I had responsibilities, and I had someone to answer to, and I had like performance reviews. And in this case, those people are us. We answer to ourselves. So there's tons of freedom in that. But it also means that we have to stick to our own deadlines, and we have to struggle with our own mental struggle, like concerns and obstacles. And we have to address those and confront them ourselves. And working in a partnership, I think, with Emily has made that so much easier than it would be doing it on our own. So when we have each other, I think we build each other up, and we make it a lot easier to stick to the things that we've committed to.
Yeah. So it's like the discipline that you need that a boss would give to you, but now you have to do it to yourself or to each other.
There's also, I think, one of the things that we've really come to believe in the last year and a half or so or to understand, is that when you run a business, you are the business. And so the business grows as you grow. For us, when we hit that spot and we hired that coach, it wasn't different. I mean, like, yes, we had to do different marketing things, and we had to like try different kinds of projects and whatever, but it wasn't really the external that was what we needed to work on. It was mindset. It was all internal stuff about how we viewed money, about how we viewed our value, about how we were willing to show up to market and to rate. You're selling yourself, really. And you have to believe in yourself to do that. And I think we really had to learn how to coach ourselves in order to grow our business. And so you have to be willing to do that. Like, that is something that you have to be passionate about, becoming the best version of yourself that you can be and want to be. And not everybody's like that interested in that kind of work. And that's totally fine. Like, my husband, he started a business years ago. And it was successful and he ended up selling it. But from that experience, he was like, yeah, I don't ever want to run my own business again. He's like, I want to know that my paycheck is coming. I want to have like a team to talk to. I want to not have to sell myself. Like, I just want to be on the tech team. Like, I don't want to market myself at all. And that's like totally fine. So I think like there is this glorification of what entrepreneurship can look like, but I don't think that it's for everybody. And it's like, you have to be interested in the whole business part of it as a project and as a creative outlet, in addition to what you're selling, which is for us, I think, really exciting and really fun.
It sounds like a 9 to 5, you can separate yourself or your personal growth from the job that you have. And when you're in a business as entrepreneurs, it's like, I can't separate that, and I have to grow myself in order to grow the business, which can be kind of scary because it's like if you're afraid to grow or you don't want to do it at that pace, like you have to do it pretty quickly to be able to grow and have more money. Just stay your 9 to 5.
It's uncomfortable. And so, we had a year of a lot of growth, and it was a lot of feelings and a lot of like discomfort. I don't want to say it's like a total party all of the time. Like growth is really hard to the point where we almost enrolled in another coaching program this year. And then we looked at each other and we're like, maybe we don't have to grow for like a minute.
Like we're good for right now.
I took therapy a while ago and that was a lot of growth. Plus I was doing my job and I'm like, oh, thank God, like they don't know anything about this.
I mean, therapy is so important and I think everyone should do it. And at the same time, our business coaching felt a lot like therapy. It was like constantly
it didn't.
It didn't.
I ended up getting a therapist while we were working with the business coach, which is like totally separate. But I ended up like talking to my therapist a lot about the business stuff that we were going through because it was a lot of growth and discomfort and like all this stuff. So it was like so funny because I'd spend like half my sessions talking about my business coaching session.
That's a lot of talking about your feelings though.
It was a lot.
Yeah. It was probably get like exhausted.
I was very tired.
It is. But I mean, I can't stress enough like how impactful that was for our business and for our relationship together. Like we're partners, but we're friends. And so in order to have a successful partnership, we have to have a successful relationship. So
which I also want to talk about, about friends/partners, like working together, but also then, going out and hanging out outside of it. Like, is it too much of you, like two together? Like, don't you get sick of each other?
Sure. Like maybe occasionally, but we started this on friendship and it's never like getting sick of each other. It's more just like, that was a lot for me. Let me take a break. I think we started our relationship as friends. We grew really close as friends. We began as business partners. And I think as people, we're very similar, but we also believe very strongly in feedback and in open communication. And so we try to keep that open between us, to share what it is we're thinking and feeling if we are frustrated, so that it doesn't get to the point where we're like about to wring each other's necks.
I mean, it's been a process. I mean, I think there have been times where we've gotten so into the business stuff and we've been so thin, especially during all of the growth, that the friendship stuff can easily get pushed to the wayside. And so we've learned to be more intentional about trying to build that space in, so it's not just business all the time and that we are still engaging with each other on a human friendship level.
How do you guys separate that from your jobs? Like once, like, let's say you're hanging out outside of work, how do you stop yourself from talking about work?
That's tricky. Well, so fun fact.
Yeah, fun fact.
We have only seen each other in person 3 times.
No way.
Yeah.
Yep.
We should have started with that because now I have
That's okay.
So many other questions.
We met for the first time in December 2019 and we didn't see each other again until February 2022.
Yeah, March of 2022.
And then we just saw each other in January.
Yeah.
Wait, where do you guys live again?
She lives in Durango, Colorado. I lived in Phoenix, but I just recently moved to Denver, Colorado. So now we do live in the same state, which is nice. So it was easier for Emily. Emily traveled to visit. We visited each other at my house in January in Denver.
Wait, so this is very interesting because usually business partners are not in different places.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So now there's like a lot of questions of like, how do you guys make it work?
Zoom.
And
Unlimited Zoom.
So much Zoom. We are building more in-person time. We're trying to into our business planning and scheduling, because it's so good, and we're learning how to use it too. Because when we saw each other in March 2022, we
Overworked.
worked.
It was too much. It was too much work. We did not have enough friendship. We had way too much work.
Any downtime. But we hadn't seen each other since 2019. And so we were very excited to like be able to work in person on stuff. We were much better about it in January. We took ourselves out to dinner and it was amazing. And we just tried to hang out more, which was good. So it's hard because there's not a lot of what, like you were saying earlier, like outside of work time, like that doesn't really happen that much for us. And so we have to be really intentional about building that friendship time in. We could probably always get better at.
Yeah.
Now with Zoom and everything and social media and the internet, it is so easy to like have a business online. So now there's like really no excuse. If you want to start something, you can do it. You don't need anything like outside.
Yeah. I mean, we had already started our business and filed LLC paperwork and like made money as a business before we ever met in person.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it was really cool. And that's where I think we had to have a lot of confidence in ourselves and our relationship, because we really didn't. Yeah. We had never met in real life.
Wow.
Zoom is real life and like life happens online. It seems pretty crazy, but when you think about like the way that you engage in the world right now.
So let's still talk a little bit about your coaching. So when should writers make the choice to work with a coach like yourselves? Is it when they are very beginning stages, when they have an idea, when they have a whole book ready? When should they do it?
Yeah, there's no time that's better than any other time. I mean, really, we work with folks that run the gamut. We have clients who've never written before. I had one client come to me with tons and tons of notes and ideas on a book, and she just didn't know how to start because she'd never done it before. And then we've had people come to us with full manuscripts that they have been working on for 10 years and just don't know where to take it next, and want that extra help figuring out, structurally what they need to change to achieve the vision that they have for the story. So I would say it from that respect, like anytime is a good time.
Okay. What is something many writers have trouble with that you see more often?
There's a lot of ways to answer this question, but I think there are so many. Writing craft is like one thing that you can teach anybody. But I think a lot of people, and then I'll also say a lot of writers, it all comes back to mindset. So many people struggle with believing in themselves, their ability to write a book. They're perfectionists. They have imposter syndrome. They are afraid of failure. All of that stuff is so very common. So if anybody struggles with it, you're not alone. That's part of the human experience. So if I were to pinpoint, like I see a lot of writers struggle with that, it would be mindset. And I think that's why I love our job so much, is because it's not just that I'm teaching you the mechanics of how story works, which we do and is very important. But I like to believe that I'm helping these people become better versions of themselves and like become the people that they want to be. And that's a huge part of coaching.
So there's like a lot of potential in people, and people can make things happen. We're all smart enough. We're all capable enough. It's just sometimes the mindset can really trigger us and make us not do the things.
Yeah.
So I guess like that's part of your job. Can you guys give me like some tips on what would you tell people if they're kind of insecure about things?
That is every person is unique. And while we might all struggle with some version of perfectionism, the reason that we have it is probably different. Or the reason that we struggle with our mental roadblocks might be different. So
just trying to figure out like where that stems from.
Yeah.
Basically.
Where's that coming from? Yeah. Where did it develop? Why? When you are and a lot of times it's deeper than like surface level. Like a writer might think, I keep restarting my story over and over again, and I want your help finishing it. But to me, I'm like, well, you're restarting your story because you're probably afraid of failure. So let's dive into that.
Oh,
it's not
shit.
that you need my help like finishing the story because you don't know how to tell a story. It's probably because you're paralyzed by the fact that this draft isn't perfect. And so you start it all over again.
Mhm.
So we dive into like, where are those mindset concerns coming from? And we help them build the belief around that and like tackle those concerns of, okay, if you're afraid of failure because you grew up with overbearing parents who their love depended on the straight A's that you got, like, then
raise my hand.
Yeah, right. Like, then we dive into that and be like, okay, well, guess what? You don't get a grade for writing. Like, you just write what your heart says to write, and that's enough. So we tackle those issues at the root. A lot of times it takes another person to help you do that.
Yeah. The first step is awareness, for sure. A lot of what I'll have my clients do is just start journaling what their brain is actually saying to them, because a lot of times it's like, crap. But we don't know it because it's so, a lot of times it's subconscious or behind the scenes, or we're not, actively aware of what we're saying to ourselves and how we're treating ourselves. And so putting that into a page via journaling can be a good, if we want to talk about tangible first steps, I think that can be a really good one, is just to start paying attention to how you speak to yourself.
Yeah, that's interesting. I have a really hard time writing anything online. Like if I want an Instagram caption, blog, or whatever about my podcast, I have to like look it over again and again and again. But then now in my downtime, I'm starting to write poems, and it's a little bit more freeing because I'm not worried about other people seeing the stuff. I just have my journal for myself. So I feel like maybe I'm not feeling like I'm being judged by anybody. Yeah. So I have more freedom to be like, okay, this is okay. Like even if it sucks, whatever.
Yeah. I think so many, we did the same thing with Instagram and social media. And we struggled with a lot of those, like it's overthinking, and it's coming from some sort of a fear. Mm-hmm. And part of that requires like understanding where that fear is coming from and addressing it and reframing it. But I think, oh gosh, the amount of time we used to spend just writing one email, like one email to our followers. And then this morning I wrote an email in like 10 minutes and I was like, hey, I'm going to send this today. And Emily was like, great, I love it. And I was like, okay, bye. And it's sent right before our podcast. Yeah. So some of it comes with comfortability. The more you do it, the more comfortable you get. But on the other hand, you have to let go of the need for external validation, or the fear that people are judging you, or that everything has to be perfect. Like, who cares? Nobody is perfect on social media. Like, post it. I mean, that's just one example, but
that is so big for me right now. Like, I'm working on it. It's just hard to let things go.
We say that like it's easy. It's not.
Yeah,
it's not.
Like you guys have the answers.
No, I mean, it's work. It's like when we're talking about how big our growth year was last year, this was what it was.
Well, we also, in addition to hiring the business coach and therapist and all the things, we also enrolled in a marketing course called Joyful Marketing by Simone Soul. Would highly recommend it for really anyone who's marketing online. Yeah. And it was a lot of like just encouraging you to put stuff out there like that
is garbage.
That is garbage. She literally has a garbage challenge where you're supposed to post 100 times in 30 days. And we did that because it's a muscle. It's really, really hard to break out of that, those fears around, external validation and perfectionism and all that stuff. So we say it like, just let go of that. It took us a good 6 months to 9 months to get where we are now from that, because we were exactly the same way. We would overthink everything we put out there. But it takes time, and it was so worth it to go through that discomfort of, I went through all the phases of anger and like denial and stuff going through that marketing course, but it was worth it in the long run to be able to push something out in 10 minutes. Will have value to people.
Okay, I'll look into that too. So let's talk about Tenacious program. What is that, and how do you guys help the community in that way?
Yeah, so Tenacious Writing is our lifetime access, all writing resource included program. So what it is a combination of mindset, community, and craft resources to help a writer finish the book that they have in their head, the book that they envision, get it out on the page. So we have tons of master classes that cover all sorts of topics, from writing craft, like character development and show don't tell and descriptions, to writing with perfectionism and tackling your healing from creative burnout, We include an entire outlining course to teach writers how to take a story idea all the way through to a scene by scene outline. And it's great for writers who are just starting their book or who need to revise it. We just finished wrapping up a build a writing routine workshop. So that workshop teaches writers how to write, like build something sustainable for their life while they have a healthy writing mindset. And then it's a community of writers. So we are all writing together. We're in a Slack workspace where we can all chat and communicate and share and ask questions and talk and go on this journey together. So the program itself is lifetime access. You pay one price and you're in it forever. So we invite all writers to join us. And it's really cool. It's really cool how we've set it up because we've meant it to be every support that you need on the writing journey.
We host lots of live events. So we have a lot of live classes, live workshops, live
hangouts.
We have guests who come and talk about masterclass. We do coaching calls where Rachel and I will go on and just answer questions that writers have and hangouts, play games sometimes.
Yeah.
Wow.
Really
That's
fun.
like a lot of stuff, you guys.
Yeah.
It is. It's a really good deal.
We're really proud of it. It officially launched in January. This version of it. We're very proud of it. I'm very excited about it. It already has been really amazing. If anybody wants to learn more, it's tenaciouswriting.com.
I really like that it's like a lifetime thing because
we actually used to have like a subscription, like membership, like a monthly membership to a similar idea, but this is the next iteration. Tenacious Writing is the next growth point of that.
I love that. I love it.
Yeah.
So what's the biggest challenge you have right now with your business and how are you trying to overcome it?
I feel like things are going pretty well right now.
You could say that.
Right now.
I know. I'm like looking at my task list. Like, what is my biggest challenge?
Do you think the challenge is on your task list?
I don't know. What things do I have to do?
I mean, it's not really a challenge, but we're in 1.5 months of Tenacious Writing being open. And so we're, the new sort of project that we have is figuring out, what is the cadence of it? And, how do we show up and how do we want to show up and how do people want us to show up? And it's not really, I think it's more exciting than challenging.
You could say you're having fun.
The new thing that we're doing, is feeling out this new program and hanging out with people.
I have one like business thing.
Okay.
As your business grows, you encounter more business challenges, such as having to pay tax in all sorts of locations.
She's gonna say sales tax
around the world. So like sales tax is a big question mark that we're learning and like working through because there are lots of sales rules. But it's not as simple as just like, do you have to pay taxes or not? Like I just got a notification that we might owe taxes in the United Arab Emirates. And so like, how do you pay taxes in the United Arab Emirates? Because we had one person buy something from us that lived there. So like you have an online business and in a lot of cases that makes you a global business. And then that makes you have to deal with global challenges. This sounds crazy.
I haven't thought about that.
Like,
so
I know.
Sales tax, obviously you learn how to pay for it in the US, but let's say like you have sales all over the world. Like, how do you pay tax everywhere?
We don't know yet.
That's a great question.
Oh, okay.
That's my challenge. We're learning that.
Like, you know how many countries are out there?
Yeah. And we have had a lot of people purchase our things. So now that our business is big enough, which is a fantastic thing, right? Like our business has grown enough to where now we owe taxes. So
that's a good problem to have, I guess.
Right. We owe taxes all over the world. And I'll say like, we might not exactly owe taxes, but we might have like, we've sold something there. And so now we have to look into, is that something that we have to do or not? So that's like a little business admin thing that is not our favorite part of the job, but does come with the territory of like,
no, that's interesting because people don't really talk about it.
No.
They just talk about the fun stuff, but not like the everyday things. So that's good to know. And so what do you enjoy most about what you do? There's a lot of those, huh?
Oh, so many
people. I just love the people. The people in our Tenacious Writing community are just the absolute best.
Yeah.
We had a call with them this morning. It's just like every time we have a call with them, it just warms my heart. Just people writing stories and working on themselves and loving on each other. Like just, we set up writing groups and critique partnerships. And so, they have friendships, and it's just been really, really fun. A lot of the folks who are with us now came over with us from our last iteration of the program, the subscription version. So we've known them for
2 years, almost a year and a half.
A year and a half. And it's just been really, really fun to watch those relationships grow and just really get to know people. And we have some folks who have books coming out in the next couple of months and just cheering with them. Yeah.
One of my clients has a book releasing tomorrow. So I'm very excited for her. And then she has another book coming out in May. And that's like super fun. But Emily mentioned like the connection that we have with people, just like the people, my one-on-one clients are just like the best people in the world. And you become so close with these people that you work with. You build amazing relationships. And some of my clients are like really, really, really good friends. Like not just they pay me money and I help them write a book. It's like I care about these people and I talk to them all the time. And like, we're just chatting as friends. And also let's go talk about your book. I think
how many
really
people
fun.
do you sit down with once a week and talk to for a whole hour? Like
very much.
Not a lot.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Me. Like when I had a client published last year and she put my name in the acknowledgments.
Oh
and
my God, I'm going to cry.
That was so cool to like hold that book and open it and be like, that's my name. I helped her. That's super cool when that gets to happen. That's like a special little bonus treat. Like, obviously, yes, I love seeing them grow. I love seeing them write the books that they envision and having them be so proud of their books. I love that. But it's really cool to like see your name in a book.
Yeah.
What does the road look like for you guys? What are your goals for like maybe the next 5 years, 10?
We want to reach as many writers as we can. We want to really grow our business and like have it become its best version. We have so many ideas for like what things are we going to do, but when I think about the next 5 to 10 years, I just envision us like being a leader in our space of when people need help writing their books, they come to us, and that our resources help them tell better stories and help them become prouder of themselves. So I see us helping hundreds of thousands of writers doing that.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. We, it's really just like, how do we reach more people? How do we bring more people in? Which is such a fun place to be. We're launching a podcast this week called Story Magic. We're really excited about that. So just things like that, like reaching out to more folks and bringing more folks into our community.
I know that you guys focus on fantasy books. And when I was younger, I would read the series of Unfortunate Events, Harry Potter, Lion the Witch and the Wardrobe. As an adult, it's gotten a lot less, but I want to get back into it. And the last couple of books I read were like The Song of Achilles, The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. So what else do you guys recommend that I should read?
Well, did you read, speaking of Song of Achilles, did you read Circe?
No.
So that's the same author, her other book. That one is really, really good.
Yeah, that's on my list. I have a huge ass list.
I know, me too.
Yes.
Continually growing.
What do you guys like to read? Like, what's some of your favorite books?
My bookshelf's in the other room. This question is always like, one of my favorites from this past year was The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue by Victoria Schwab, or V.E. Schwab is really good. Yeah, All My Rage. You just picked it up. I
have it on my desk right now. All My Rage.
Books because I'm past year
meaning to read it next. I just read Iron Widow. It was amazing. I 10 out of 10 recommend it. Lots of things going on in that book, but I am a big fan of anime and manga. And so it's like mecha, like Mobile Gundam, which is a mecha anime. I don't know if you've heard of it before.
No.
Okay. Well, anyway, you like fight monsters in these big metal suits, basically. Like you're like the size of like a 5-story building in a metal suit fighting monsters, set in like Chinese mythology retelling. And it was super good. I really enjoyed that. I read tons of romance. I gravitate towards romance clients. And so I really love reading lots of Kindle romance books. And I recently read The Witch Collector by Carissa Weeks, and it was amazing. Most of the time you can find me reading like a Kindle Unlimited downloaded book, like a romance book that takes me like a couple hours to read, and then I get to move on to something different.
Okay.
But anything fantasy romance is up my alley.
Romance for Rachel. And then Emily, like
I'm
what kind
looking
of
at what I've
genre
read
sort of?
lately, and it's all over the place.
I gotta look at my Goodreads.
I really like contemporary romance, like anything by Allie Hazelwood or Emily Henry has been really fun for me lately. And then in the
Yeah.
What's contemporary romance?
just like romance
Like not
stories
fantasy.
about, yeah, not fantasy, contemporary,
Just like regular.
today, modern romance. And
The
then
everyday person.
yeah. One of my favorite fantasy series is the Stephanie Garber's books, like the Caraval legendary finale stories, and then the subsequent series. I also really liked for adult fantasy Spells for Forgetting by Adrienne Young. And one YA fantasy that I really, really enjoyed was The Scorpio Races by Maggie Stiefvater. It was really fun. It was kind of set in like a mid 1900s-esque world on an island with magical horses. They were like very dangerous. That's a horrible pitch. It was a very beautiful book. But
No, I love that because you kind of step out of your everyday life and go into like this new world that you can be a part of.
I can tell you what's the next couple things on my list because these are very present
on
my mind. I have a Libby account. So I love Libby because you can get the books from your library as electronic. And that works really well for me as a mom where I can just read it on my phone or on my Kindle. But I'm really excited about it's called A Clash of Steel. And it's like a Sapphic Treasure Island remix. I'm really excited by that. The author's C.B. Lee. And then I'm really excited of The Daughters of Izdihar, which just recently came out. It's by Hadir El-Spy. And that one is next up on my Libby. And I can't wait to get it. I know The Daughters of Izdihar just recently came out within the last couple weeks. I was waiting for its release. So I'm excited about those.
Oh gosh, you guys have so many books.
If you want to get back into reading, you didn't ask for this advice, but I'll give it to you anyway.
Okay.
Just do like the easiest thing for you. If that's a library card, like go pick out like the coolest book at the library that you can think about. If it's like getting something on Amazon and reading it on your phone, like do that. There are no rules, and like reading is accessible to everybody. So
no, my problem is letting go of social media and or like Netflix or like all that stuff and picking up a book. And then also I have like a huge list. It might be overwhelming because I'm like, what should I read next? Like there's just so many good books. And then I just don't read anything.
Just put something like, I got this thing from Owl Crate. It's up there. I can't reach it, but it's like a little jar. And you write like the slips of paper, like the titles of the book on a slip of paper, and you put it in the jar and you just pick one out.
I've seen that. No, yeah, I should probably do that.
You could do that. And then like, if you can't pick, just like pick one out. And then if you don't want to read it, of like, oh, I should probably pick another one. Then you don't have to read a book you don't want to read, but that should tell you if you're interested in that book or not.
Good advice. So last question, what do you love about where you live? Specific local businesses or your location?
Mountains. I live in the mountains. And I'm obsessed with them.
Mountains, Gandalf. I want to see mountains, Gandalf.
That's my favorite thing about living here. I camp a lot.
Do you hike a lot? Oh,
yeah.
I just moved to my town. I live in a Denver suburb called Castle Rock, and there are lots of mountains around too, and it's beautiful. But I really enjoy my daughter's daycare. Like that sounds silly, but it was like hard for us to trust a daycare to pick. And it's it's not like a daycare brand. It's like a local daycare. And they've been fantastic. And they've really helped my daughter just grow. And you can see like the things she learns at school and comes home. She's 2. So that's amazing. That's been one of the favorite parts of moving here is she has a daycare that she loves.
Well, that was it. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. And I had a great time. And I think your job is really cool.
Thanks, Jennifer. This was a blast.
This is a great conversation. Thank you for having us.
Did you enjoy the episode with Rachel and Emily? I sure did. Can you imagine helping people create stories, seeing their progress, and getting to read them before everyone else? That sounds so fun. Anywho, I wanted to take a second to talk about the Super Bowl. Did you guys see it? I saw it for Rihanna, but stayed for the men. No, seriously though, no one can tell me anything. I think Rihanna did amazing. She is a queen and I love her. I was so sad because I literally live 20 minutes away from the stadium, but the ticket prices are for the wealthy. Regular seats were $4,000. Like, I don't even know what that number is. One of the biggest things that shocked me from the game was how quickly the game can change. And I know it was the Eagles against the Chiefs, but I'm going to say the red team and the blue team. So I literally gasped when one of the guys dropped the ball and then the red team picked it up and got the points. And then there were a couple other times when the blue team ran between all these red players without being touched. But when the red team does catch you, they hit hard and they protected the person with the ball with their lives. So those were the exciting moments of the game. And if anybody wants to explain the ending to me or how the game works, just please leave a comment. Thanks. And another thing, today is Love Day, and I posted a blog post where I talked about why we have Valentine's Day and how the traditions became commercialized. So stop listening to me and go read it. Let me know what you think. Bye.